This is a country near and dear to my heart, as I spent about 5 years living there, and I did my doctoral dissertation on Indonesian music. So today we're actually going to be talking about bronze, gamelan music, but also bamboo. So we have this kind of bronze and bamboo theme as we explore Indonesian gamelan orchestras, and also the bamboo angklung from Java. Both of these ensembles will be exploring today, both coming from Java, Indonesia. So just looking at Southeast Asia more generally first, typically we divide Southeast Asia into two regions. You have mainland Southeast Asia, which is this area north here, kind of close to China, consisting of Myanmar, colonial Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, parts of peninsular Malaysia. Then you also have island Southeast Asia, which comprises of Indonesia, the Philippines, island Malaysia, parts of Borneo, East Timor, and Singapore. Okay? This is sometimes also called maritime Southeast Asia, right? Lots of seafaring culture. All right. A lot of Southeast Asia is hot, tractable, lots of swidden, rice, agriculture, religion. East Asian religions are prevalent, things like Buddhism, Islam. You'll see today, Indonesia is actually the largest Islamic country in the world. Hinduism, Christianity. Christianity and Protestantism obviously come from colonization. There's a long history of colonization throughout Southeast Asia. Almost every country in Southeast Asia was colonized by a European power, except which one is up there? It's a good trivia. Thailand, right. The royal family never submitted to a European power. So it's a good trivia question for you. What Southeast Asian country was never colonized? China. Okay, so just a little bit of background. I mentioned this idea of colonization. There's many more ethnic groups than there are states, and a lot of these boundaries, especially in mainland Southeast Asia, they're not fixed, right? Just because you live in Burma doesn't mean you're completely Burmese. Maybe the part of Burma you live near is very close to India, so there's a large Indian population, okay? So a lot of cultural, ethnic boundaries are blurred in parts of Southeast Asia. Because of the religion, because of the weather, a lot of life is shaped by ritual, agrarian ritual, right? What do I mean by agrarian? Agrarian ritual. What does agrarian kind of sound like? Come on, guys. Agriculture, rice farming, things like that. Wet rice cultivation. In places like the Vietnam and Philippines, you have demographic considerations between lowland and upland peoples, people who are rice farmers, or city, more cosmopolitan people versus people living in the highlands, live more rural farm lives. Okay, I'm going to jump to the next slide here. This tangent here about the Chinese, a lot of Chinese and Indian immigrants is just again to drive home that although we have these boundaries in Southeast Asia, we're like, this is Thailand, this is Vietnam, this is the Philippines. There's actually a lot of ethnic diversity that's found throughout Southeast Asia. Musically in Southeast Asia is often called the Gong Belt, okay? And you can see, as in this document map right here, that throughout parts of Thailand, you have the Peapot ensemble. In Cambodia, and also in Myanmar, it's called the Sang Wang ensemble. In Philippines, you have what is called the Kulintang, as you see here. Here's the Thai, Cambodian, sort of Burmese example. And in Indonesia, we get other bronze instruments. So, bronze is a copper and tin alloy that comes from about 2000 BC. So a lot of the instruments throughout this region, whether you're in Cambodia, Thailand, or Indonesia, you're going to find bronze instruments. Gongs, knob pots, xylophone-like instruments, okay, in different configurations and different. I've already mentioned that this term, the gong belt, is used for this prevalence of gong ensembles. And in almost all cases, these large metallic ensembles were supported by and thrived during a period of a court system. So that's in the case of the Philippines. If you look back in Indonesian history, the Majapahit Empire, before European colonization, the arts were very important. The court system had its own royal ensemble of musicians, royal ensemble of puppeteers, of dancers, okay? And so the arts really thrived during these periods, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on today, is kind of the court traditions, the older traditions of Indonesia. On Thursday, we're going to have a guest lecture by Hannah Stanford, one of our graduate students here, who focuses on a form of Indonesian popular music called keroncong. So today's kind of the traditional Indonesia background component, and on Wednesday, we'll get some more popular music. So a little introduction to Indonesia. Its name wasn't always called Indonesia. It was sometimes in the past called the Malay Archipelago or the Dutch East Indies. But its name actually comes from the Latin Indus and the Greek Nessos, kind of putting India and island together. There was thought to be kind of common similarities between the agriculture and the spices and things that were coming from Indonesia. When we looked at music in the Caribbean, what was the Caribbean also known as? The West Indies, right? Because you had these European colonial powers coming to the Caribbean looking for tobacco and cultivating sugar cane. Same thing happened around the same time in Southeast Asia, as the Dutch and the British are coming and they're looking for other spices, and we'll see an example of those in a minute. Indonesia is the fourth most populous nation in the world, with over 238 million. Its capital is in the island of Jakarta, which will be the focus of our lecture today. And it's about 17,000 islands. This number changes every day with the tides rising and falling, right? Some islands emerge some days and they go underwater other days. Only about 6,000 of them are inhabited, however. And through our angklung game today, we will get to know some of the main islands, some of the largest islands of Indonesia. The official language is Bahasa Indonesia, or Indonesian, and we'll talk about that in a moment. That's only since 1949. Throughout Indonesia, their national motto is Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity and diversity. So incredibly diverse nation, as you can see here. Even on one single island like Java, you have different ethnic groups, commonly partitioned by mountain chains, volcanoes, bodies of water. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we have such starkly contrasting ethnic groups throughout Indonesia, throughout island to island. Why might it be problematic then for me to stand up here and say, I'm going to teach you about quote unquote Indonesian music? Yeah. Right. And exactly. I don't know if everyone heard her, but there's so many different ethnic backgrounds. Indonesia only became a unified nation in 1945, which I'll talk about in a second. So how do you what's Indonesian music? Okay, it's really all of these things together. But typically when people think of Indonesia, they think of gamelan, which we'll talk about today. Just a little bit about the colonial history. The Portuguese were first in about 1509, and we're looking before that today, the Majapahit Empire, followed by the Dutch. Okay, and they were in Indonesia for a couple hundred years, looking for things like nutmeg, turmeric, spices. You ever hear the phrase, you want a cup of Java? Like a cup of coffee, right? Because it's grown in Java. Things like chocolate, also, coffee. Okay, so the Dutch occupation eventually ends when the Japanese occupy Indonesia during World War II, and then after the nuclear bombings, the Japanese left, and Indonesia finally gains independence in 1949, unifying all of these islands, which span over 3,000 miles, by the way, and uniting everyone under one language. Now everyone goes to school in Indonesian, they watch TV in Indonesian, but they also speak their own family or island dialect. People who are from Bali will speak Balinese, people from Java will speak Javanese, or West Javanese if they're from West Java, completely different language. Current president is Joko Widodo, kind of looks like Obama, Obama was part Indonesian. He actually went to school, middle school in Jakarta. So maybe you can see some of that Indonesian heritage in his face. A little bit about religion in Indonesia, because it is the largest Muslim country in the world, but it has this incredibly long religious history which informs so much of the music and the culture and the dance that's happening in Indonesia. You have all these animistic religions that are happening, but early Indian influences come down from India through the Malay archipelago and jump down into Sumatra, bringing Hinduism and Buddhism, okay? Later on, in the 12th century, Islamic traders come, bringing Islam with them, eventually kicking out all of the Hindus that were thriving in the Majapahit court empire in western Java at the end of the 15th century. So what happens is Islam comes and they kick all of the Hindus out to Bali, which is right here. It's this red one, okay? Which is why Bali is this little island hamlet of Hinduism in Indonesia now. Okay, so there are still traces of Hinduism throughout parts of Java and parts of Kalimantan and Sumatra, but for the most part, a large part of the nation has been converted to Islam or in the East, Christianity. A lot of the musical arts, shadow puppetry, dance, take stories from the Hindu epics, the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, right? And a lot of the ideas, thoughts about music also derive from older thoughts and conceptions about time that reside in Hindu and Buddhist belief system. Here's some evidence of Hindu Buddhist influences in Java if you ever get to Java. These are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I think they're listed on one of the lists of the 7 wonders of the world. Borobudur is a 9th century Buddhist temple that you can see from space. It looks like this big yantra geometric figure. And then Prambanan, which is a series of chandis or temples thought to represent the Hindu trinity and then their consorts and their vehicle. All right, Java, which is the one island that we're going to focus on first, just in terms of gamelan. It's also the place where the angklung comes from. So it's the seat of Indonesian politics, with the capital of Jakarta being over here in the west. It's got 135,000 inhabitants. It's the most populated island in the world, really crammed together. 13th largest island in the world, 5th largest of Indonesia, formed by spine volcanoes. I just remember often flying from Bali to West Java and just flying over and like practically looking inside of one volcano after another, right? This is the Ring of Fire in Southeast Asia, a lot of volcanic activity. And it's also the home of the Majapahit Empire, or Western Java, which gave rise to the height of Hinduism in Indonesia before Islam. And this is when the arts, especially gamelan, were cultivated. So, taking a look at gamelan, I have pictures of 3 different types of gamelan, just so you can get a sense of how very different they can be. This one is from Central Java, this one's from Bali, and this one's from West Java. This is the ensemble that we have here at the University of Pittsburgh. This is typically what people think of when they think of like a national Indonesian music. They think of gamelan, and it typically roughly translates to mean orchestra, okay? An orchestra of knobbed pots. What do I mean by knobbed pots? Well, you see you have a pot here and it's got this little knob on it and you just hit it to produce a tone. Xylophone-like instruments, gongs, right? You also have drums, which will conduct the ensemble, a few string instruments and a few woodwind instruments as well. All of these ensembles are unified by their tuning. They're tuned together, which means I couldn't take this ensemble and mix it with this one and mix it with this one, because they all have a different tuning system. It's not like in American Western music where I can take my clarinet and play with one jazz band and then play my clarinet with another jazz band. It doesn't work like that. All of these ensembles have their own tuning system. Very community-oriented, because you obviously, from looking at these ensembles, you need more than one person to play. So this is one of the ways in which people, whether it's professional or fun, get together in the community, and at the end of the day, and they play together. And children will come with their parents from the age of 2, and next thing you know, by the time they're 5, they learn this music through enculturation, right? Because they've been sitting and watching the music being played by their family every day since they were young. We'll talk about the scales in a minute. There's various scales. There's kind of, within Central Java, there are 2 And if you notice this central Javanese gamelan, which is the one we're going to talk about today, you see the configuration here, how everything's like in an L? Anyone want to venture a guess as to why it might be set up that way? Yeah. Good guess. Anybody else? Okay, well I haven't talked about the tuning system too much yet, but there are two tuning systems. Okay, so if you want to play one tuning system, you face stage left, right? But if you want to play the other tuning system, all you have to do is just turn your body a quarter turn, and then so all the instruments facing forward would be tuned in one system, all the instruments facing to the side would be tuned in another system. So this is a way that you have two tuning systems that are able to be played by one ensemble. Questions about this so far? All right, a little bit of gamelan history in a nutshell. It actually predates it predates the Montefiore Empire. It was something that, thinking about Hindu Buddhist beliefs, right, one of these royal kings, it's rumored that he needed a signal to summon the gods, right? In a lot of these cultures that we've seen throughout this class, music is often used as a form of communication between the unseen and the seen world, right? So a gong is developed, and this is to summon the gods. And we'll see how important the gong is because it marks off the cycle. And then for more complex messages, he invented two other gongs, and then more gongs, and thus the gamelan was eventually formed. And then it was standardized, for the most part, under that patronage of the Montefiore Empire. One of the earliest images of gamelan is found from the 8th century on that Borobudur Buddhist site. So if you visit and you go up inside of this temple, you'll see there's all these bas reliefs carved into stone. This is one of the earliest records we have of activity of history in Indonesia. Not written records, but carvings. Gamelan is performed for a number of contexts, whether it's for dance, for masked dance, for shadow puppetry. I have a couple shadow puppets to show you guys today. Usually it accompanies song, it can be for performance, it can be for an offering in ritual. Okay. It can be for ritual, it can accompany ceremonies and life cycle events, things like that. Alright. So, here's a larger representation of this central Javanese gamelan, which is what we're going to focus on. You can see a little bit clearer here, all of the gongs. And again, here's the two tuning systems. So one tuning system is called Slendro. Can you guys say Slendro? Slendro. And this is a 5-tone, what do we call a 5-tone scale? Louder. Pentatonic. So there's a Slendro pentatonic scale that can be played, but there's also a Kelog 7-tone scale that can be played. So these will sound quite different. And even though the diatonic scale, the Western music scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, is a 7-tone scale as well. This is a different 7-tone scale. There's often two styles, soft and loud. This refers to music that is played to accompany intimate gatherings inside versus sort of loud, boisterous parade festive occasions. More graphic representation of the instruments of the gamelan. This allows you to see some of the the string instruments like this spiked fiddle, the rebab, this bowed. There's also suling, which are a bamboo flute, and something called a colotomic, which is a chapi. So it's not all metallic instruments. There are some of these softer instruments and voices, and these softer instruments and voices would be used for more intimate performance settings. I want you to just pay attention mostly here. Obviously, I'm not going to have you memorize all the names of the instruments. I really want you to focus on this idea of the gong. And you'll know why in a second when we talk about cycles and colotomic structure, but also the kendang. Because this marks the cycle. It's the most important instrument musically, esoterically. But this one, the drummer, is what speeds the ensemble and slows it down. just to have a sense of gamelan tunings here that I'm talking about in relation to our Western tuning, right? Our Western tuning is, if we were to represent it graphically, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, this is how the pitches of the Palo scale and the Cilindro scale fit. And you can see none of them actually lines up. Okay, we'll hear an example of the Cilindro scale in a moment. So, colotomic structure. The main musical aspect, if you're going to remember anything about gamelan and how it works, this is it. Colotomic structure. Now, it starts with a C, and I have a graphic representation here too. If it helps, think circle. Colotomic, think circular structure. And this is pretty much just refers to the idea that all gamelan is in a cycle. Okay, you can have a 16-beat cycle, you can have a 32-beat cycle, and depending on how long your cycle is, that's when the gong will play. See G, gong. How long is this gong cycle represented by this, this circle here? If each one of these tick marks is a beat. How many beats is the gong cycle? If each one of the tick marks is a beat. Until you come back around to gong again. You got it. 16, right? You have gong, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, gong, which means you'll get this cycle going, and every 16 beats that gong will play. And that's why it's important, because it's like your home, it's your grounding, it's your foundation. If all the other people will be in town and mess up, they can just listen for the gong and get right back on. These cycles, so there's the gong playing every 16 beats, you have other smaller instruments maybe playing every 4 beats. Then you have other instruments playing every 2 beats. You have other instruments playing every 1 beat. So you have all of these different nested cycles inside the gong cycle. A great ethnomusicologist, Dr, who's done a lot of research between the Hindu Buddhist philosophies of Java and their music, found that these cyclical structures also reflect Hindu Buddhist conceptions of time. Okay? Kind of like our Friday the 13th. Right? It's not every month that the 13th of the month also corresponds with the week calendar, right? And that it's Friday. The same thing in Java. They have several different calendars, a market calendar, a lunar calendar, you know, and then there's also the Islamic calendar. And what a lot of priestly, shaman, divination people will do is just to overlay these calendars and find places where specific days line up, and then they'll say that these are auspicious. This is kind of what's happening in gamelan, right? When everybody gets to the gong and all of the parts line up. It's kind of like this auspicious lining up, and it's represented by the gamelan. This is also how in Java and parts of Indonesia they define suitable days for rituals. So if you want to get married, you don't decide you're going to get married this spring on Saturday because you're hoping it's going to be beautiful weather. You go to the priest, they say, no, this date in 2 weeks is the best day in the cosmos, and you go and you get married on that day, so that you have many children and long life, etc., etc. Okay, so enough talking. Let's hear this, and let's see if we can pick out the gong cycle. We're going to listen to a Javanese chord gamelan piece called Udan Mas, which means golden rain. It contains both a loud and a soft playing style, in that some of these softer instruments and voices come in the middle. It's in the Cilindro tuning. And so what I want to do is just listen to this first, and I want you to ask yourselves how many beats is the gong cycle. So I'm going to mute this. I'll help you a little. Here we go. Okay. See how there's a cyclical colotomic structure? How many beats is this gong cycle? Anybody? 16. Great. It's not always 16. Sometimes it's 32. Sometimes it's 108. It can be quite long. And it varies from composition to composition. We're going to listen again, and I'm going to give you this is called a sarong. This is one of those metallophone-like instruments. It's typically in the front of the ensemble that plays a note on every beat. And they will play the sort of nuclear melody. So if you were playing gamelan, everybody hold up your hammer. You have a hammer kind of in your hand, okay? And your left hand, as you hit one key and then you went to go strike the other key, you would dampen the previous key. Why do you think I would do that? Char's not allowed to answer. She's in my gamelan orchestra here. Yeah. So the sounds that ring and resonate because they're metal. So if I just hit all of them, it's going to be a big wash of sound. So what we're going to do, so what you do when you play is, if I were to play Udan Mas, 6, 5, 3, 2, 6, 5, 3, 2, I would play 6, 5, 3, 2, 6, 5, 3, 2. My left hand would follow my right hand and dampen as we go. So just because there's 100 of you, and we can't all get into the gamelan and try it, I thought we would do a little bit of sort of like air gamelan. Here's the notation for the melody, and you can kind of pretend that you're trying to play the melody. Okay? So we'll listen to this one more time. This will give you an even better sense of how this particular instrument subdivides the colotomic structure. Let me just pull it up. Told you already. Yeah. Right. So just as you just heard the ensemble speed up, because the drummer sped the beat up, the drummer will give a signal after a certain number of times too. Like, come back. And then everyone will just slow down and they'll play maybe one more round and they'll slowly slow down until the gong to the end. And that's how they know that the song is finished. Any questions about gamelan so far? About colotomic structure? All right, I just want to take a couple of minutes and then we're going to move on to angklung to just talk about gamelan and shadow theater performance. Because it happens to be my area of expertise and I have a couple shadow clips for you. And it's something that we just don't really have here, so I like to talk about it. Gamelan, I'm also going to Japanese shadow puppet theater in which there is a dalang, okay, or a shadow puppeteer, who will sit behind a screen. Imagine I have a screen in front of me, and there's typically a lamp in front of him. And so the puppeteer will play these puppets, as you see, and the lamp projects light through them, and they look like shadows to the audience on the other side. If I could, I can't hold this up high enough, but if I were to hold this up high enough in the projector light, you would see that the lights go through these puppets. All right. And dalang, the puppeteers, are actually really cultivated literary figures. They know histories, they know genealogies, they know, they're religious scholars, right? And for a long time in Indonesia, before TV, wayang, or shadow puppet theater, was kind of like primitive television. It was the way people were educated, socialized, right? It was the way religion was passed on before the advent of TV. It's now one of the UNESCO masterpieces of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, and there's a large sort of puppet tradition throughout Southeast Asia. I'm going to pass these puppets around to you so you can see them. Just be careful. They're usually made out of cowhide. There are 3D puppets made out of grass in Indonesia as well, but these wayang kulit meaning skin, are some of the most prevalent. There's usually good characters and bad characters, right? Because everything's about the triumph of good over evil. Good characters, like this one, have very refined eyes, very closed, and very close together feet, whereas bad characters, who are more like monsters, have big round eyes and their feet are quite far apart. Okay, and typically a puppeteer will have all the good characters on the right side and all the bad characters on the left side. And there's always usually some battle in the middle of the puppet play where the good puppets win over the evil puppets. So I'll have you guys take a look at them. This one's a little old, so just be careful. And I have a quick UNESCO video on shadow puppet theater, but I'm going to send that to you guys and have you take a look at it actually on your own. I want to use all the time we have for us to really get onto the hands-on portion of our class today. So moving to the bamboo portion, looking at Indonesian angklung. Can you guys say angklung for me? Angklung, because a lot of people say angklung or angklung and angklung. Where does it come from? Well, it's coming from Indonesia, from Java, but specifically it's coming from this area of West Java, over here where Jakarta is. This area is commonly known as Sunda. The people in Sunda speak different language than Central Java and in Eastern Java. And it's well known for having a couple of its own very unique musical traditions, including the angklung and a form of gamelan, unique to the region as well, which we house one of here at the University of Pittsburgh. So getting to know the angklung, how might you classify this instrument? I told you already. How might you classify it? Idiophone, yes. It's a bamboo idiophone. How do you think sound is produced? Shake it. You shake it. How many tones? How many tones are produced? How many tones are produced on the angklung you're holding? How many? We got 4. Anybody else? 2. Yeah, it's actually 2. So the tubes that you see there, they're actually tuned up to the same note, but an octave apart of one another. But angklung can be constructed to produce a variety of tubes, of tones. You can have 2 tones, you can have 3 tones, you can have a chord, you can have 4 tones, you can have a chord. This might be a 7th chord. Angklung traditions. So, what we're going to do today, and these Western tuned angklung have come a long, long way from the roots of angklung. Okay, so I talked about agrarian rituals. Angklung in the past is this ancient instrument that dates back to about the 7th century West Java, when people are just really cultivating rice, right? They're animistic, and they would use this instrument during times of harvest celebration or planting celebration. and they would use it to honor the rice goddess Devi Shri or Devi Kali, kind of praying for a good harvest. Early angklung were much larger, as you can see, and they weren't really played melodically like we're going to talk about today. Instead, they weren't really tuned. They were just kind of like these bamboo rattles that sounded like wood shaking together, but they would play them rhythmically, and they would interlock in hocket-like fashion. So we've talked about hocketing before. Does anyone remember what hocketing means? It's kind of a complex musical term. Yeah, all the way in the back.
Call and response.
Kind of. It's kind of like call and response in that people are working together to make it happen, but remember we sang that song, I wrote Mary Had a Little Lamb on the board, and then some of you were the Mary had a little lamb. Remember that? Remember we did that? We broke up the melody into different parts. That's kind of what's happening in these ancient angklung traditions as well, except rhythmically. Everything's kind of like the agdekor, right? Every single part is playing a different rhythmic ostinato, and these rhythmic ostinatos are coming together. Remember the drumming parts that we did in Africa? Very similar to that. So it wasn't a very melodic tradition. And we're not going to try to sing because we've done this before. But I do want you to get a sense and just see for one moment what this tradition looked like so we can see how far it's come. And there's some singing and some drumming. The main melodic component really is coming from the singer, actually. So, what happened? Well, as colonization comes bringing with it European religion and culture, obviously also European musical influences. European musical influences also come in as well. And this led to a number of developments in angklung. So angklung was first tuned to the scales of the gamelan, but then someone came along and also tuned the angklung into the Western diatonic scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And started playing and creating a whole plethora of nationalistic Indonesian tunes written in the Western scale. Remember, this is around 1945. There's a center that I've done a lot of field work in West Java called Sawang Pengjo, and they teach kids, and they have, as you can see, a whole auditorium here where they invite hundreds of people to come and learn about the angklung and play together. And we're going to do that today. This was formed by a man called Ujo Nalagena. He studied with a man called Dain Sotikna, who's thought to be the father of the angklung, and he's the one who actually created this diatonic angklung. And he would give them to young Boy Scouts. And he was really, and they would go out and they would play Western tunes on the angklung. He was really responsible for getting the angklung into Indonesian music education. Just like we play the recorder in 2nd and 3rd grade, Indonesians will play the angklung. Okay? And then what they've done, you can play the angklung now, like you would the piano. So they've hung it up on the wall and a stand. And there's a number of people playing really popular, famous tunes like Rihanna's Umbrella on the angklung. So
my world stopped. So I was really angry when I found out.
So what I'm going to show you is a video here from a show called Indonesia's Got Talent, kind of like American Idol, but instead they have an Indonesian angklung player on there. The instrument has come a long way in terms of being westernized, refashioned. It's now considered one of the UNESCO, it's on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And the angklung is also really special because, as you can see, it's so portable. I brought it into you guys today. And this is something that Angklung Jodas Center in West Java is doing. They've been bringing thousands of angklung instruments around the world and participating in a sort of cultural diplomacy where they go to big diplomatic events and they'll pass out the angklung and they'll get everybody involved in Indonesian arts and culture by having them play the angklung together. They had over 5,000 people in DC do this on the Washington Mall in 2011, as you can see. And over 20,000 people later on in West Java. This is something they've been doing for many years, trying to break world records. Okay, so enough about that. Let's engage in this ourselves. And everybody put your laptops away, grab your angklung. We got 7 minutes. So the first thing, how do we hold this instrument? Well, you see there's a bigger tube and a smaller tube. In the center, place the larger tube to the right. Your peace fingers on your left hand are going to just gently hold the instrument. And it should just lightly rest. Lightly rest. Yeah, so if you don't have a top part like I do, it can go right there. Okay, then your right hand will take where the frame and the bottom tube come together and you'll shake. Everyone should have a number, numbering from 1 to 7, or then you'll see maybe a 1 with a dot on it and a 2 with a dot on it. Okay, now, anybody here been to Indonesia? All right, so maybe we're not so familiar with the Indonesian islands. Everybody who has Sumatra, which is where the orangutans live, Aceh, where the big tsunami was. If you have number 1 Sumatra, please play. Okay, then we'll jump over to this big island in Kalimantan, number 2. Louder! And then Java, and then Bali, and Sulawesi. Good. And then the Philippines. Nusa Tenggara is this whole stretch of the Eastern Islands. Number 7. And then and then Lombok with another dot, which is actually the island next to. Louder? Only one person has a 2 with a dot on the top? Nobody else? What? You're the soloist today. Wow. Okay, 2 with a dot on the top. And then 1 with a dot on the top. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. So we're kind of running out of time here. What we're going to do is play a song called Burung Kakatua. So just like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you know, any Indonesian young child would know this song. Okay? I'll sing the Indonesian for you while you guys play, but the song goes, the cockatoo sits on the windowsill, grandmother is already old, she only has 2 teeth left. It's kind of just this silly kid's song. Trekking, trekking, trek, ooh la la la. So what we're going to try to do is play this. Everybody has a number. A few things about reading the notation. If you see 0, this means nothing. It means rest. Okay? If you have 5, 5, and you have a dot after, it means you're going to keep rattling, keep shaking your angklung. Okay? You're going to sustain for 2 beats. If you have 2 notes in a row, 5, 5, Try to separate them a little bit. Okay? And what I'm going to do is use the pointer, and I'm going to count you in. So we'll go 1, 2. You got it already. Okay? Are we ready? Here we go. Sit up nice and tall. Hold your angklung properly. Thank you. Here we go. 1, 2. Good. Stack them on the way out.